today, cohort B, um, you guys are going to be reading and or listening to the article, What Caffeine Does to You. And so um, this is obviously a informational text, and it's focusing on an argument, which once you come back into the classroom, we're going to start kind of writing some arguments of our own. And so I thought this would be a good thing to do with you since you'll be back in school next week. All right. So the article is titled "What Caffeine Does to You," and it was written by Carrie George. Like most people, you've probably read your share of advice articles. You've read about what you should and should not eat, drink, wear, and watch. Why do you forget most of these articles, while a few stick with you? So, if you think about the ones that you remember, what is it that makes those stand out in your mind? It's probably due to the power of the author's argument that makes an article convincing. So, when we're looking at an argument, the first thing that you're going to consider is the claim. A claim is the position a writer takes on an issue, much like when you guys did the social media and whether or not it was positive or negative in society. You had to choose an argument, right? We don't sit on the fence. We want to convince, to argue that our point is right. So a writer creates an argument, which is a series of persuasive details to support his or her claim. The writer of the article you are about to read thinks that too much caffeine is unhealthy, and so she presents a series of details or evidence to defend this claim. She's going to try to convince you that caffeine is a bad thing. Okay, so how is she going to do that? So, an argument usually consists of a mixture of logical and emotional appeals. It appeals to both our hearts and our minds. Writers build logical appeals by presenting facts and statistics. Okay, so anytime logical appeals, that means they can be proven. There are statistics or facts to back up that appeal. But writers also use emotional appeals through the use of loaded words and their tone or attitude. If you find that a piece of writing relies mainly on emotional appeals, then the writer is probably unable to support his or her argument with hard evidence. So I guess the way I like to think about it is logical appeals are more fact based and emotional appeals are more opinion. So if you think back to elementary school when you guys, worked on what is fact and what is opinion, and you were probably given a bunch of statements and you had to put an F by the ones that were fact and an O by the ones that were opinion. That's kind of what these are. Once again, logical appeals are fact based, emotional appeals are just opinion. All right. Um, Generalizations then are broad statements about something or someone. Some generalizations can be supported, while others are just unfair statements that reflect bias or unsound thinking. So, as you read the article, consider and identify the writer's argument. What is the point that she's making in this article about caffeine? Distinguish between the logical and the emotional appeals as you evaluate the writer's evidence. Identify the generalizations that she makes and decide whether or not they are justified. So, with this, of course, we're going to be looking at main idea, which is a big focus in this short story unit that I hone in on a lot. And then we're also going to be looking at the pieces of an argument and whether or not things are logical appeals or emotional appeals. All right. All right. Moving on to the actual article. This is a PDF, so you'll just be able to read it. The questions that are in the side, those are kind of like, as an active reader, you should stop and think about those questions. Just to, I guess, check your comprehension of whatever you've read so far. Okay, What Caffeine Does to You by Carrie George. It's 10 p.m. and you still haven't finished your homework. Your first reaction is to reach for another can of soda with caffeine. After all, you feel peppy and awake when you drink it. The problem is, most Americans drink too much caffeine, and this can cause health problems. Although it's okay to have some caffeine, kids and teens reportedly have been drinking an average of more than 64 gallons of soda with caffeine a year. So, right there, you should already kind of understand what her claim is. What is caffeine? Caffeine is a natural substance that's found in leaves, seeds, or fruits of more than 60 kinds of plants. The four most common sources of caffeine are coffee beans, tea leaves, chocolate, and cola drinks. But caffeine is found in other foods too. Because caffeine is a popular flavor, it's added to foods such as ice cream, frozen yogurt, candies, cakes, cookies, muffins. Caffeine also is added to pain relievers and some over the counter medicines. With so many drinks and products containing caffeine, staying awake has never been so easy. What's the downside? Some kids are paying the price for catching a caffeine buzz. An addictive drug. Although caffeine is a natural substance, it is also the world's most popular drug. It's a drug because it affects the body's nervous system. Caffeine is a mild stimulant, and this type of drug perks up your body and makes it react more quickly to things. Stimulants also keep you from feeling sleepy and tired, but that's not all. Caffeine also increases the flow of blood in your veins. It may even increase the need for you to go to the bathroom by making the kidneys, which produce urine, work harder. Because of this, caffeine can cause you to become dehydrated, which means that your body gets weak from not having enough water. On a hot day or after playing sports, you need to give your body fluid, such as water, in order to replace the water lost through sweating. Beverages containing caffeine make it harder for you to keep enough water in your body. So let's go back a little bit into these side questions. Um, let's go to this author's argument right here. It says, pause at line 7, circle the sentence that contains the main idea. So that's up in here. Most Americans drink too much caffeine, and this can cause health problems. Although it's okay to have some caffeine, kids and teens reportedly have been drinking an average of more than 64 gallons of soda a year. So, yeah, so obviously, this right in here, most Americans drink too much caffeine, and this can cause health problems. That's going to be your main idea. Moving on, it says reread lines 12 through 17, which I know my page numbers are cut off, but that's right through this area in the middle of the what is caffeine section. Encircle the types of food, drink, and other substances that may contain caffeine. So, of course, they listed coffee beans, tea leaves, chocolate, cola drinks, ice cream, yogurt, candies, cakes, cookies, muffins. So there were a lot of things you could have circled there. And then finally, in your own words, describe how caffeine affects the body. So once again, you look back to the whole addictive drug. It causes your kidneys to work harder than they need to. It can cause addiction, so it certainly affects your nervous system. Body can become dehydrated if you drink too much caffeine. All right, so there are a lot of things there. Getting the jitters. Usually, when people first drink caffeine, they feel a burst of energy, but the effects don't last long. However, if you drink too much caffeine at one time, it can make you feel nervous or jumpy. Your hands may shake. You may feel like there's something you forgot to do. Too much caffeine before bedtime will make it hard to fall asleep. If you don't get enough sleep, you may not be able to pay attention in school the next day. So too much caffeine also can make you feel sick and anxious with stomach aches, headaches, a racing heartbeat. People differ greatly in how caffeine affects them. Some can drink several cups of soda with caffeine in an hour and feel no effects, while others will feel the effects of caffeine after 1 cup. On average, the smaller the person, the less caffeine is necessary to produce the side effects. However, your caffeine sensitivity is most affected by the amount of caffeine you use. It takes less caffeine to affect kids than it does an adult. Many kids are getting addicted to caffeine and don't even know it. This is because kids are bypassing milk in the cafeteria for cans of soda and are buying big gulps after school that contain huge amounts of caffeine. If you begin to drink caffeine every day, you will usually, need to drink that same amount of caffeine just to feel normal. Also, you can build up tolerance to caffeine just as you can with other drugs. This means you need more caffeine to get the same effect. And if caffeine users don't get their regular daily dose, watch out. People who are used to getting a certain amount of caffeine per day and then one day they don't, they may develop headaches, stomach aches, feel grumpy or sleepy all day long. These symptoms can happen within 12 to 24 hours of not having caffeine. All right, once again, you guys can go back over those sideline questions and see if you're understanding. Are you a caffeine junkie? Although the effects of caffeine vary from person to person, experts agree that for most adults, drinking no more than 240 milligrams of caffeine per day generally doesn't cause any bad effects. But most preteens are smaller than adults. For them, 240 milligrams is too much. It's important to limit the amount of caffeine you drink. If you really love soda, it's probably safe to drink about 100 milligrams of caffeine. That's about 2 cans of soda a day without any side effects. But if you start to feel that you can't sit still or if you can't sleep at night, stop drinking caffeine. How are you going to do that? Cutting out the caffeine. It is easy to cut the caffeine from your daily diet. Is it? What kind of appeal is that? Is that fact-based or is that more of an opinion? It's easy to cut the caffeine from your daily diet. Here are some helpful suggestions. Read labels carefully. Look for the words caffeine-free to be sure of what you are getting. Approximately 75% of soft drinks consumed in the United States contain caffeine. In general, drink caffeine-free beverages instead of those with caffeine. Most clear sodas don't have caffeine. Other soda flavors such as orange or root beer are usually caffeine-free, but it's a good idea to check the label. Get creative with other drinks such as water, fruit juice, milk, decaffeinated iced tea, and herbal teas. If you need to cut back the amount of caffeine you drink, do so gradually to get your body accustomed to less. As you cut back, you may find yourself feeling tired. Your best bet is to go get some exercise. If you're really tired, take a nap. Your energy levels will return to normal in a few days after you've kicked the habit. Choose baked goods, ice cream, and candy that do not have contain chocolate or coffee. Sorry. Finally, make sure you avoid caffeine before bedtime. You can help the whole family cut down on caffeine. Ask your parents and siblings to help you look for caffeine on the labels of medicines and foods. Okay, and so I think, especially since you guys are going to be coming back to school, this might be something. If you're someone who can't concentrate and you're looking for, why that is, well, maybe it is because you drink too much caffeine. So perhaps that's something worth looking into. At this point, you're going to go to Schoology, to my main page, and there is an assignment there with 5 multiple choice questions. You will complete those 5 questions, submit them, and then that is all that you need to do for today. Okay, so once again, you're focusing with this article on claim. What was the author's claim? What was their argument? How did the author support their argument? What reasons did she give? Did she then explain those reasons? And did she add some kind of conclusion to this? Okay. And when we're looking at, specifically when we're looking at arguments, we want to look at the different kind of appeals that are used. Are they fact-based appeals that are being used, or are they emotional appeals? So those fact-based are referred to as logical appeals. We can look up, we can find statistics and or data to support those appeals. Once again, whereas the emotional appeals are more opinion-like. Okay? If you have questions, as always, don't hesitate to email me. I will also be having office hours during study hall. You can use the code that I will post on Schoology, because I believe Mr. Denny, Mrs. Ho, and myself, we're all going to get in a Google Meet together. That way you guys can just come there and get whichever of the 3 of us that you may need during study hall time. So that will be, sorry, I have to look at my list, 11:14 to 11:55 daily. We will be holding office hours. Look for the code that it will be posted on my Schoology page. All right. I will chat with you guys later. Let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.